Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
All right. Welcome back.
MisFitNation, the MisFitNation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the MisFitNation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the MisFitNation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the MisFitNation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the MisFitNation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
Welcome back to the MisFitNation. Those of you joining us today, it's great to have you here. We know you have better places you could be and other choices in life, but tonight you're here with us at the MisFitNation. Again, we are live in Indiana. It's very cold here. Can't wait to head down south and get back to Tennessee into a different type of cold where it's also humid. So we'll get back to that next week. All shows next week should be in Tennessee. Again, like our video said earlier today, if you see us in your town, don't be afraid. Run up, hang out with us. We are cool people, and we're not going to kill you. Tonight, we have a great guest. It's always great when we have veterans to end our week, and tonight we have an Air Force veteran. He's the founder of Vernon Dog Training in Tampa, Florida. With over 6 years of experience, he specializes in balanced dog training, helping owners create calm, confident dogs and stronger relationships. His proven techniques address behavioral challenges and empower owners for lasting results. So without further ado, let's bring in U.S. Air Force veteran Ben Vernon to the MisFitNation show. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, brother. Good to have you here. I was just in Tampa a couple weeks ago, actually. I was there for the Shield of Faith Be Resilient Clinic out there at the golf course, and I had a great time down there from, I think it was Wednesday through Sunday.
Yeah,
it's Monday, actually. A good time and a real good clinic. If you haven't been to it, I'd suggest you jump in on that.
Yeah, I definitely want the information whenever we're done here.
Yeah. So, Ben, I just gave a 2-sentence intro on you there, brother. I know you got a lot more to tell us. Tell us a little bit more about you from as far back as you want to go to what led you to the Air Force and how you got here.
Yeah. I grew up in a small town in North Carolina. Always wanted to join the military. It was always something that stood out to me. And Originally, I wanted to go into I want to be a pilot, wanted to go to the Air Force Academy, and my SAT scores weren't as high as what they were looking for. So they said if you go enlisted, that there's all these slots available. It'd be way easier to get into. And so I thought that would be the path to go to. So I ended up choosing really short tech schools. So that way, as soon as I graduated from basic, and then I could go through a really quick tech school, get to my first duty station, and then start the process to go into the academy. And so I picked shorter tech schools. So one of those was security forces. I didn't know what that was. There was just a paragraph. It sounded cool, sounded like a military type thing, sounded kind of like infantry type combat stuff. And so I put it down, and I really didn't know what it was. I ended up getting it. And so after I graduated high school, I left 2 weeks later to go to basic. And then once I got to basic training, I realized that what I was going to be was basically a military police. So I got stationed in Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana. When I read Malmstrom Air Force Base, I thought it was in Germany. So I was highly disappointed when I realized where it was. And I grew up in North Carolina, so it's not that cold there.
Right.
But Montana is -30 every year, for multiple weeks at a time. And it was a pretty rough experience. So while I was there, I heard about the canine program, and I really looked at that as a way to get out of Montana. So I ended up cross training into that, and just seeing how cool of an opportunity it was, and seeing like how cool the dogs were and like what they're capable of doing. And so I went through canine training in 2018 in San Antonio, Lackland Air Force Base. And from there, I got stationed in Tucson, Arizona, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base for 2 years. So while I was there, that's where I learned everything military-wise of how to do detection, how to do patrol work, how to send your dog to find people and bite them, to find explosives, finding drugs and everything. And I ended up doing a Secret Service mission in 2020. Ended up going to Trump's golf course in Bedminster, New Jersey. And while I was there, I was talking to the canine handlers that were part of the Secret Service team. And they were talking about, hey, what are you going to do when you get out? You know, you should get out. You should come work with us. You should come do exactly what you're doing. And they talked about the retirement is way better than the military. They're talking about how the pay is way better. Everything about it was better. And so I was like, this is what I need to do. So that was in June of 2020. My contract ended in January of 2021. And I ended up starting the process immediately of getting out. And right whenever I was separating, when I left Tucson, I ended up moving in with my parents, just because it was like a time period of just waiting around, because it's, you know, at any point you're just waiting to get to the next stage of the job and the next stage of the application and everything. And so the day that I left, I got an email saying they gave me a conditional offer of employment for the Secret Service. So I thought, this is it. This is all working out. So I moved to North Carolina, moved in my hometown, moved in with my parents, my wife and I, and our German Shepherd. And 6 months into that, I finally ended up going to do a polygraph. And that was one of the last stages. It was basically you pass this polygraph, and then you get sent to the school. And so I grew up, I've never got a ticket. I've never did anything. And the guy said, how do you think you did on the polygraph? And the polygraph is just a mind game. You know, if you are questioning it, I don't know how I did. Then they're gonna be like, what do you mean you don't know how you did? So are you lying? So as confidently as I could, I said, oh yeah, I think I did great. It went amazing. And he's like, really? Because you failed. And I was like, I failed? What do you mean? And so he said, I lied about my involvement with serious crimes against people and serious crimes against things. And I said, okay, what does that mean? And he said, it could be, I lied about my involvement in a domestic assault or a assault and battery. And he's listing off like all these like terrible charges. And he said, or, I was like, okay, what's the crimes against things? And he said, it could be tax embezzlement, tax fraud or something. And I'm thinking, I'm a prior E5. I was making like 30 grand in the Air Force. You saw my bank accounts. What am I embezzling? So I just took it as that was God just shutting the door and saying, this isn't what I'm supposed to do. And so, from January to July, it was just so much of just waiting around and hanging out. And so my mom had shared on Facebook, hey, Ben can train dogs. And so I started just doing that on the side while I waited for to hear about the polygraph, to wait to hear about the next step and everything. And I grew up that dogs are outside, and where I grew up, dogs are like chained to a tree, and like that's just normal. And dogs aren't really pets or friends or whatever. They were just like things to have. And so I didn't even think that dog training was a thing. I didn't know that people were into that or that it would be beneficial in any way. And so I started doing it and realizing that there was a need for it and people were looking for it, and realizing that it was something I was really passionate about and I could help a lot of people, and it was a way that I could provide for my family. And so as this whole process was going, I thought, I think this might be what I want to do anyway. And so really, whenever they denied me and they said that the Secret Service they're not going to move forward with me, I was honestly pretty relieved. And I honestly thought like, hey, this is exactly what I want. This is where I want to be. So we've been looking up dog-friendly cities and trying to figure out what's going on, where to go and everything. So I didn't want to stay in my hometown. It just didn't seem like that was where we would want to settle down. And so like I said, I was stationed in Montana for 4 years, so I never really want to see snow again. And Tampa was rated #1 dog-friendly city in the United States. And so I thought, well, this is it. So the polygraph was in July, and my wife and I moved down here in September. We didn't have a single friend or family down here. We didn't know anybody down here. We just completely packed everything up and jumped in our RAV4 and our Camry and came down here. So everything that we've done down here has been from scratch, and it's really, really remarkable to see how God has allowed this to happen, because there's no other way to say that I could do any of this without him. And it's honestly shocking every time I think about it.
So it was almost like a divine intervention to have you stop the one path you thought you were on and just basically uproot and find another one. And wind up in Tampa, Florida, where it's good weather most of the year, probably 96% of the year. The week before I went down there, I guess it was cold, and they were complaining about it was in the 40s. I was like, okay, that's
right now it's like 55. I walked outside. I was like, oh man, I need to put my jacket on, and it's pretty cold down here for us.
That's like 7 up here, so it's about the same.
I know. Yeah.
That's what it was today, 7 when I went out to start the car for work.
No, thank you.
It was wonderful.
Yeah. No, thanks.
So I know a lot of listeners have dogs and have seen other people with dogs. What's one of the biggest misconceptions dog owners have when they're training their own pets?
Yeah. Puppy socialization or dog socialization in general. I think it's one of the worst things that you can hear. So people just assume that I have a dog, you have a dog. Well, they need to meet. My dog has to like be friends with you and your dog. And it's not the case. I try to relate it to people in a way of like, I have a 2-year-old. There's no way if I go to Publix and someone says, hey, can I hold your 2-year-old? No, absolutely not. Go away. Right. But with our dogs, we think that it's okay. And not only okay, but it should happen. Right. If you come up and ask to hold my 2-year-old and I say no, why are you getting offended?
Why are you mad at me?
There's zero reason for you to be forcing me to let you interact with my kid, right? So the same thing with your dog. And so what happens a lot of times with dogs is you're either creating to where your dog is looking for interacting with other people. So you're walking down the street and your dog now yanks and pulls you to somebody across the street and then dog across the street. Why? Because they want to go play with them. They want to go interact with them. But you've allowed that. You've taught them that that's the thing to do. So stopping that is crucial. Like, I actually tell people you shouldn't let your dog interact with people or dogs. There's zero reason that you should pet my dog. And the more that you limit that, the more that your dogs have an actual healthy relationship with you and with other people. And so I'm not saying that, you know, if you have your dog and you take your dog to your friend's house, that they can't play with their dog, or your friend can't play with them. But it's the same thing with a relationship. You know, if me and you are friends and I bring my kid over to your house, I would expect you to interact with my kid, or maybe even pick up my kid, but not a random person, right? So if you look at it in that way of teaching your dog like when it's okay to interact with people and when it's not, your dog should be polite. Your dog shouldn't be barking or yanking you or doing anything like that. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I tell people is to stop forcing your dog to interact with people or dogs.
Awesome. That's great advice there. So I had people in my neighborhood like, I want to bring my puppy over so he gets socialized. So I can't guarantee what my dog's going to do to your dog. So
yeah,
my dogs are insane, just wacko.
Yeah, and it's crazy too, because like, you know, another kid thing, but like, if I take my 2-year-old to the park, to the playground, and I see, you know, 5 15-year-old boys hanging out on the playground, I'm not going to tell my kid to go play with them. I don't know what those kids are going to do. I don't know what they're up to. You know, like your dog may be a mean dog, right? Or your dog what happens if your dog has been attacked
right
before? And so now your dog is really uneasy. And so now I bring my dog over here, forcing your dog to interact with my dog, and your dog's uncomfortable with it. And now your dog bites my dog. Why? Because it's defensive and it's afraid. But then now I'm going to look at you like you're the bad guy because you let that happen. When in reality, it's my fault because I pushed it.
I pushed the envelope.
Yeah.
We got a question from the audience here. What did you think of working with those prima donna EOD guys on the Secret Service trips?
I thought they were really cool guys, honestly. Everybody that was there, there was probably 3 handlers. They were pretty cool, pretty relaxed. So I didn't think there was any issue with that. It was really cool just to see their style of how they do things and what they do.
Downtime, did they sit and watch Hurt Locker in between things like that, or?
No, honestly, it was the chillest thing I've ever done. So I was stationed in Tucson, which it's 110 every day. And so you have to not only yourself get accustomed to the heat and everything, but your dogs have to be accustomed to the heat, because you may do a 45-minute, hour-long training problem walking through the desert. It's 110 degrees and you got to pace yourself and everything. And so we go to New Jersey and it's like 65 or 60 or something. And everybody else, all the other like military handlers from other bases, they're like having to take breaks and all this stuff. And like, we're doing like a 30-minute, like search your vehicles for 30 minutes. Like you're at Trump's golf course. You're not going to have like any. One vehicle we searched was a 100-year anniversary Bentley.
Oh wow!
And so I'm terrified that my giant German Shepherd is going to just claw this car, something stupid. And so I'm keeping my distance. I'm thinking, you know, if you're going to have an IED or something, it's probably not going to be a 100-year Bentley, you know. So it was super easy, super cake. I'm pretty sure I worked about an hour and a half each day because they had so many people to account for the heat and overworking your dogs and everything. So it was a super cool thing.
That's awesome. And the guy who asked is an EOD guy who just used to do VIPs, not a dog handler, but just an actual EOD guy.
Yeah.
So that's why I said to her,
It was cool working with EOD guys too, because we had EOD guys there from different bases and different branches. So even with the military, I'm pretty sure there was 3 Air Force handlers and maybe 2 Army handlers, and then there were several teams of EOD guys from different branches and stuff. So even just seeing what they talk about, what they're looking for, because what I'm looking for and how I'm looking for it is different than what the EOD guys are going to be looking for. So that was a really cool perspective to see just how everybody works and what I've seen, what they've seen, and then trying to kind of compare that and ultimately succeed overall.
I got 2 more questions from the audience. They seem like they're about the same question, but sure. I'll let you answer them as you feel. This is from @GreenGold. What was the biggest challenge you faced with transitioning from military to canine handler to a full-time dog trainer?
I would say for sure the just trying to learn everything I can about business and entrepreneurship. My dad's a pastor. My mom stayed at home with us. So I didn't have any entrepreneurship, mentorship, or any idea. I've winged so much of this. And, I used to listen to music a lot while I was driving. And I was like, I'm driving an hour and a half. I should probably be listening to a podcast or something, like trying to learn whatever I can. And so just taking small bits of time to learn more about, there's so many things, from marketing to social media to, even setting up a podcast yourself. Like I'm looking into that myself and how to start that and how to, generate leads, how to be better at sales, how to be better at talking to people. How can I be a better dog trainer? Because I went from being a one dog, this is my dog, I need to make this dog the best, to I've got to make all these dogs good. Because what you care about isn't the same thing that I was doing with my military working dog, and things that I'm focusing on. But every dog needs to be trained. So even learning how to be a better trainer, how do I be a better communicator so that I can teach you how you can train your dog and what to do. So that was probably the biggest thing, is just trying to wear every hat possible and then to get to where I am now. So you're constantly learning. And I feel like once a month, I'm like, I think I'm doing pretty good. And then I learn about something else. And I'm like, oh man, I know nothing. I'm an idiot. And so it's just a constant cycle of you're an idiot and you've got to figure out the next step.
Why did I just do that? Same thing I've done with this podcast. I knew nothing about this podcast or anything. I just figured I had 8 hours a week that I had nothing aligned to. Let me do a podcast.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan can do it. He's a comedian. Let me do it. And I soon learned it's a lot more than 8 hours a week, and a lot more things go into it. And now we're in our 5th season, 480 something episodes already recorded. I'm still learning. Every show I learn something new. I learned something new that I've done dumb or done wrong, and I've just notched it on my belt. All right, let's do that better next time. Do this better next time, and hopefully do this better next time. I think that's the same with business. You got a regular business. You have to learn and grow every day.
Yeah.
Our second question is, thank you, Green Gold. This is from Leave 'em B, I believe, @Leave 'em B. Moving to Tampa with just your wife, your dog, and a dream sounds bold. What was the turning point when you knew dog training was your true calling?
Yeah, like I said, when I got out of the military, I was just hanging out. And I was like, I just got to kill some time because at any moment they can say, all right, cool, you've passed all the tests and you're leaving for Secret Service school. So that's why I moved with my parents, because at any moment it could literally be like next week and they say, hey, you're good to go. So it was just waiting around. And then I thought, hey, this will be fun. This will be a cool thing to do, just to kill some time. And I started, like I said, I started getting clients, and I started actually seeing like, hey, people are going to pay for this. And then not only will they pay for this, but I enjoy it. Like, this is cool. You know, like it's hard to beat. I drive around, I talk to people about their dogs, I build a relationship with these people, and then, you know, I get to see the progress that they're making and see how much happier they are with their dogs. So that was awesome. So one thing that really changed for me was the mindset part of it, was entrepreneurship. With one of my clients, I was asking him, hey, what time of the day works with you? What day of the week works with you? And he was like, I'm pretty open, really, anytime. He's like, I go to the dog park twice a day. I go to Costco. He's just like saying all the stuff that he's doing. I'm like, you go to the dog park twice a day? Like, what do you do? And he said that he's a landlord, and he owns 15 properties. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. Didn't even know you could do that. And so from there, I started looking into real estate. I started looking into, although I was wanting to go into the real estate, I learned so much from business, about business and how to be an entrepreneur, just from that. And so from that client alone, that's one of the main reasons that drove me this way, because I recognized that, hey, you can make money on your own. You don't have to be in the military. You don't have to have a government job or to do a job that you hate. I mean, how many people you talk to that you hear and they go like, man, I hate my job. It sucks. And, well, it pays the bills. And I think it's good. You know, that's part of it. But if you can find something that you enjoy, find something that you can help people, and you can make money doing it, then it's hard to beat.
I like to tell people, if you wake up saying I have to go to work instead of I get to go to work,
yeah,
you need to start looking for that get to instead of having to. Because you're not happy, you're miserable, you're living to work at that point. You're not working to work. It hurts your bottom line. No matter what you think, you're hurting your bottom line. You're hurting your mental facilities and all that stuff. I'm going to ask one of your questions from your page, because I think this has to do with a lot of all four of my dogs have. I have 4 dogs, 4 different personalities. They're all their own dog.
Yeah.
But at some point during the day, they all get into it with each other, and it's just play fighting. But I know it's because their attitudes or their emotions. But how do you handle dogs with severe behavioral issues or fear or anxiety?
Sure. So one, you got to take every dog. Every dog is different, but for the most part, there's a lot of similarities that you can do with pretty much any dog. So creating structure is a huge part of it. You know, how much of it, if you didn't work yourself and you just hung out at the house, you didn't leave, you might walk outside, you know, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then walk back in, and you're just stuck inside your walls. You're going to go crazy. That sounds great for the first day.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, I need to go to the store. I need to do something. And so if, you know, I have my neighbor down the street, he's a older guy, and every day he's out doing something in his yard. He's fixing something. He's doing something. But, you know, if he didn't do that, you know, you die. Like you have to work. You have to do something. You have to have a schedule of some sort. So doing that with your dog. So especially if you have multiple dogs, there's a phrase, it's called crate and rotate. And so I think using a kennel or a crate, a box, whatever you want to call it, for your dog is really beneficial. And especially the crate and rotate example. So typically people would have 2 dogs. So you would have 1 dog in the kennel, and then you have 1 dog loose for an hour, and then you would switch. And then you have a portion of the day where they're both out together. You know, my wife is my best friend. We hang out all the time, especially since I work from home. But if I spend every waking moment with her, we're going to get in arguments. you know, that you hear you're breathing too loud or you're chewing too much or whatever. And so think about that with dogs, and they got sharp teeth and they're already scuffling and doing all kinds of things. So when it comes to these behaviors and stuff, I think creating a schedule, creating a structure is really important. And then giving them something to do. So you hear the common phrase of giving your dog a job, having them do something. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can literally be, 5 minutes of just teaching them to sit for a duration, to work with them on distractions, taking them on a walk where they're focusing on you, spending time with just one dog at a time and everything. If you just leave all 4 of your dogs out and you're just letting them go at it, just think like they're stuck inside the house all day, every day for weeks, months, right? And so you need to give them separate times where they can just have their own time to just relax. That's one of the first things that I would do.
Okay. I know. I realize when we take one to the vet, it's that one's time for the annual shots or whatever.
Yeah.
Take that one to the vet, they come back. It's like he was gone for a decade because they go crazy, excited to see him again.
Yeah.
What happened, brother? Where'd you go? And they get nuts just to see him come back. So they have that. You can see they have that emotional side where they know that their brother or sister has left for X amount of time. To them, it's a lifelong time, just like when we leave the house. But that dog comes back. Oh, they're back! Thank God.
Yeah, and then they got the FOMO.
Yeah.
So they think that they missed out on
something. Yeah. Did you go get Up Cup? Did you do something? All right, good.
But you brought up the vet. So like one thing that you can easily do with your dogs that helps is most people talk about their dog hates the vet. And so if you think every time you take your dog to the vet, they're getting a shot, they're getting stabbed, they're getting some type of like terrible experience. So we would do this a lot with military working dogs, where we would take our dogs to the vet every so often, a couple times a month, once a week, and just play with the dog there and give them treats, have the vet techs or the veterinarian give treats or something as well, just to show them like, hey, this is a good time. Because you think every time that you do something, you get stabbed, you're going to hate that too. Of course, your dog's going to want to bite the vet because every time they're getting stabbed and poked and prodded and messed around with. So if you make it a fun experience, that'll help as well.
Of my 4, I have one that he just can't stand the vet. He starts screaming when he gets in there. He's a lunatic when he gets in there. My wife don't take him no more. I have to take him and take the embarrassment.
Yeah.
He just is. He's just that dog. He doesn't want to be there.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you probably wouldn't like it either if every time you're stabbed, and it's a terrible experience. So especially if your dog has issues like where they have to go frequently or more often than the others, then of course they're gonna not enjoy it.
He's the one that never had issues. It's the weirdest thing. The other 3, all 3 of them are money pits, but he's not the money pit, and he's so afraid because like their floors are like that, the cold floor, or whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty common too.
So he won't go like into our bathroom where it's tile floor. He'll take one step in there and step back. I'm not going there. No, I'm not doing this.
Well, that's another thing too, is building confidence. So one thing I try and do with every dog is push them to see what they're afraid of and then make them overcome that. So you just said a second ago, if your dog goes to step into the bathroom, whether it's a tight space, whether it's a dark area, whether it's a slick floors or something, and they go to do it and then they stop and then they retreat. If you don't force them to step in and to overcome that fear, then they've created a training scar. They've created a moment in their brain where they thought like, I almost died. And so you look at that and you go like, oh, it's just a bathroom. But to them, like they literally almost died.
Right.
So I tell people, growing up, if you went to summer camp and they take you to the lake and they have a platform to jump off of, and there's a whole line of guys up the stairs. When you look up at it, you're like, oh, that's not that high. That looks fun. Everybody else is doing it. You get up there and it's the highest thing you've ever been on. you're on the Empire State Building basically. And so you can either jump and overcome your fears, or you can turn around and do the walk of shame, and everybody's going to haze you.
Yep.
What are you going to do? But as soon as you jump, you go like, oh, hey, that wasn't that bad. That was actually kind of fun. So same thing with your dog. So if your dog is showing fear, then I would push them to overcome that. And you can start slow. You don't have to, don't take them to the craziest, scariest thing and then say like, you're going to do it. But just small micro steps of just building over and over again and teaching them that they can overcome that will really help.
I'll put Yogi to the new test when I get home. See if the young man can do it.
Yeah.
He's one of my young ones, so let's see what he can do. I got another question from the audience here from Papa Don't Preach. It looked like it. Papa Don't Preach. How did your experience in the Air Force shape your approach to training dogs and helping their owners today?
So I always really wanted to help. Mindset with the as a canine handler, you are training to deploy. You're training to find explosives. You're leading the path. So if you're doing a route sweep or something, you're going down a dirt road that there may be IEDs or who knows what, tripwires. You're searching buildings or whatever, and so you, in theory, could die at any moment. And so you have to take this very seriously. So I would, not only am I working with my dog, so Frankie was one of the last dogs I worked. Not only would I work with him during my shift, I would go in on my off time to work with this dog because I was trying to be the best handler that I could. I was trying to have this be the best dog possible, trying to build a relationship with this dog because this dog was my lifeline. And if I didn't know this dog intimately and how he thinks and how he works and what drives him, then it's going to be over for me. So learning what I did, my goal was to help the other handlers that were newer than me. And how can I teach them and show them how to understand things? And so trying to figure out ways that they could understand ideas or tactics and really trying to break it down to them so that they could do it themselves and make sure that they were, taken care of. So from there, I think that's where I really had the passion of teaching people. And so that's where, for me, like teaching like lessons or even with the board and trains, whenever I finish with people and we're working with the dog and trying to explain like, hey, how can you continue teaching this dog? How can you understand, like, what am I doing? Because, I've been doing this for a while. Like I feel like I'm pretty good at this. And so it doesn't matter what I know. It matters on like, what can I teach you and what information can I give you to make sure that you're able to continue doing this? Because if you're not able to continue training this dog, then you're going to be like, man, Ben Vernon sucks. He didn't even train my dog right. When it's in reality, I trained your dog and I trained you, but I didn't train you properly in a way that you can grasp the idea and know what to do in the future.
Definitely. Well, I've heard in the past, a lot of times when you go to a dog trainer, you're really training you.
Yeah.
You're training you, not really the dog, so that you know what you're supposed to be doing around that dog to have the reactions you're supposed to have. Is that a common saying?
Yeah. So I do board and trains and I do lessons. So lessons is I would meet with you weekly and I'm teaching you what to do. And so I really try to have as much of a hands-off approach as possible when it comes to the lessons, because you're going to be doing it throughout the week. So I might take your dog on the leash for a minute, show you a situation, and then go, here you go, take your dog back. And then you do it. So part of that is also because I wanted to show your dog that I don't care about your dog. It sounds bad, but I want it to be, I'm here for you. Like I'm not looking at your dog. I'm not looking at because you're going to give your dog all the attention. And so it goes into what we talked about earlier of your dog should be neutral to people. Your dog shouldn't care about me. Like, I'm not your dog's friend. And so with the lessons, yeah, I'm teaching you 100%. Now for the board and train, what happens there is it's not that your dog goes away and comes back a new dog. Part of that is true because I'm taking your dog from here and we're bringing it up to here, but then it's up to you to take that and move forward. Versus with the lessons, you're working with them and bringing them up. So with a board and train, a dog trainer is able to look at the dog and know what they're looking at, know how to guide and where to put them, kind of thing. But in both situations, I still have to teach you what you're doing. Why are you doing this? What's important about the situation? Hey, why is your dog acting weird around the bathroom? What can you do to facilitate that, and what can you do to help them overcome that? Because it goes ultimately back to the confidence building. And is your dog going to be confident about this? Because if your dog is showing fear, then that's going to make things worse, and that's going to potentially create more anxiety. It's going to produce more potential aggression. So we want to make sure that your dog is confident and not worried about things and not worried about issues that they might come in contact with.
Outstanding. I got another question from the audience. They're pumping in tonight. At Commander of 2, you went from basically being the tip of the spear to protect POTUS to guiding pet owners. What mindset shifts did you need to make along the way?
I feel like I turned more into a hippie. I'm more just pretty relaxed about it because, it did go from, so in my trainer, Josh Reed, that guy would scream at you about every single thing possible. And you would, as you're doing a training problem, I'm going down a roadway or I'm searching a house looking for explosives, and he's yelling at you, why are you holding the leash in your left hand? Right. And it's a lot of this, it's not even that you're wrong, but part of it is, do you know why you're doing what you're doing? Are you confident about that? And just building confidence on what you're doing, because ultimately my life is on the line and anybody else behind me, their life is on the line. So you need to be as confident as possible of knowing, like, hey, this house is clear or this roadway is clear and you're good to go, because who knows how many people are going to go over that. So high stress, high unpredictability, to going to now I'm teaching dog moms with doodles how to walk nicely on a leash.
Right.
And so it's a completely different mindset shift, but it's ultimately like, how can I make them happy? Because the point now is you want to take your dog out to get brunch. You want to go get coffee with your dog. And so if your dog is barking or your dog is pulling or your dog won't lay down while you're eating brunch, then you're less likely to take your dog out in public. And so then whenever you do take your dog out in public, now it's a big deal. And so now your dog has that FOMO that we talked about earlier. And so now they're acting out even worse than what they would have before. Right. And so now the shift, the mindset is like, how can I teach you to teach your dog to be calm? How can I teach your dog to walk nicely on a leash? And so although, they don't necessarily equal, but it is just as important to this dog mom on how, to be able to live with their dog properly.
Definitely. Everyone has to have their dog everywhere now. Like you just mentioned, I don't think there's a place you go anymore where you don't see someone having to have their dog with them.
No, and it's a lot down here. Yeah, it's very, very common. So there are dogs everywhere.
I don't mind you having your dog, and just don't put a fake vest on it and say it's a service dog.
Yeah, and that's another thing people don't realize is that's illegal.
Yeah.
So that's actually a felony. So one thing that happens is people they'll reach out to me and they'll want me to train their dog so that they can say it's a service dog, and so they can fly with it. And so that's a felony. So I don't do that. And I make it very known I don't do that, because you can get in a lot of trouble with that.
And it's not worth it for you as a small businessman, entrepreneur, to put your name on the line for someone that's not truly doing the right things.
Yeah. And if people actually do need it for a purpose, and then that ruins it for them too.
Right. I was at an event just recently where a person had their service dog with them, and an actual service dog came in, and that service dog that was there first went ballistic.
Yeah.
The dog was in the room.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to spot if it's a real or fake.
I was like, that's not a service dog. There's no way this is a service dog.
Yeah.
And the owner's yelling and screaming at it, and it's all right. And then later that dog that went nuts actually bit somebody. I said, "Well, that's strikes 3 right there. 3, 4, 5, 7. It's gone."
Yeah, and what people don't realize too is, like, even if your dog is a service dog, if they're causing a disruptance, if they are, biting, if they're barking, if they're being difficult, then they actually can be told to leave. So just because you do have a service dog, whether it's real or not, if it's deviating from what it's supposed to, it can be told to leave.
So that's 2 things you said you put out just in the last 2 minutes. One, it's a felony if you have a one for illicit reasons, and 2, it could be asked to leave. That's something I've never heard before. You can ask to leave. You always hear, they can sue you, or they can ruin your business if you do that.
Yeah, so they're only allowed, I'm pretty sure they're only allowed to ask, maybe it might be, is it a service dog?
Right.
And then what tasks are they trained to do? And your dog has to be trained on 2 tasks. And it can't be that, I have anxiety, or I have PTSD, or I have, your dog has to do something. Yeah. So I don't know much, because I don't do service dogs, because it is a whole other category. So I don't even look into it. I don't even really care to know the information with it, but it is very specific. You have to have the 2 tasks in order to be considered a service dog. So
one more question from the audience. I think it's the last one we'll take for tonight. But at Breed Success, I think that means. What's the most rewarding part of helping dog owners through your training programs? Any success stories that stand out to you?
Yeah, just seeing, people just coming to you and saying this might be it. This dog is killing me. This dog is a terror. I can't do anything with it. The dog's wild and crazy. And then we go through training, and the dog is manageable. The dog is enjoyable to be around. They can take their dog out in public. Several of my clients are old people, and not only do they have more trouble with balance, but you're also more likely to, tear a shoulder or fall on your hip or something, and that's debilitating. And so it's so much of training isn't even really about sit or down or whatever, but it's teaching your dog not to yank you whenever they see a squirrel. Yes. There's one trainer here in Tampa, and she posted a while back that one of her clients was walking her dog, and the dog saw a squirrel, yanked her, and tore a rotator cuff.
Wow.
And it's that's a 6-month, year plus long surgery, recovery, and everything because your dog did a really annoying thing.
Yes.
One moment.
Look, mom squirrel. Yeah.
And so, imagine that situation and you think, do I want to take this dog out on a walk?
Yeah.
You ripped my shoulder. Like, that's not you skinned your knee. That's a big deal.
It's a lot worse. Yeah.
So, not only are you going through all this pain, but like how much resentment are you going to have with your dog?
Right.
So if we can take that dog before that it gets to that point and make it manageable and help them to be able to walk their dog and enjoy their dog, they're going to enjoy their life more. That their dog is going to be their companion, their man's best friend. So
Buddy for life. Yeah. That's what most of the people want, and they don't want the injury side of it.
no, so get injured.
During COVID, I have a giant lab. He's at that time, I think he was 104 pounds, just full of excitement all the time. He loves the vet for some reason, but they weren't letting us in the vet, so the vet tech would come outside, and they sent the girl out there who was probably the same weight as him, maybe 100 pounds. He was so excited, and they had these poles in front of the vet. And I said, "Do you want me to take him in? I can do it. I'm not worried about getting sick." No, we have to do it. As soon as he got in her hands, he wrapped her around that pole. I said, "Oh, it's going to cost me money." I'm okay. I said, "All right, I'll be back, bud." And he just thought it was the best thing ever.
Yeah. I took a client dog needed to go to the vet for some shots while it was with me, and I'm watching these vet techs and they're doing all this stuff with these dogs, and like I'm very cautious with dogs, especially dogs I don't know.
Right.
Like I would never hug a dog. I would never like grab a dog. And watching these vet techs and they're handling these dogs, and I'm like, I don't think you know what you're doing. Like it takes one moment, the wrong dog, and you're getting bit.
It's going to hurt for a while. Yeah. It's a hard lesson to learn.
So it is crazy to watch, some of these vet techs and stuff. And it's like, you think you would know better or something. I don't know. I don't know what kind of training they go through, but
right, I was going to say, it has to be some kind of checklist of what you're supposed to know and not know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the school is or how long it takes or what they learn, but it might be like we talked earlier. I love dogs, so I'm going to do this. That could be it. And it's not always the best dog that you get in.
Yeah.
All right. So as we start to wind down, Ben, we always ask our guests to give 3 things that our audience can do tomorrow to be successful, not just in business, but in life. What would be 3 things that you do or have done that have made you successful?
Well, I think, taking time to learn is really important. Like I said, one of the things that really helped me was recognizing, hey, how much time am I spending just listening to music? How much time am I spending on my phone doing what, like, can I create a new hobby? Can I learn more about whatever? Like there's so many things on YouTube. I've learned so much just from YouTube alone, and even different social media accounts of looking at different business owners and entrepreneurs and what they do with things, marketing, and just trying to implement that. I think that's one of the biggest things. 3, you got me
Stumped you.
I think being intentional with your family. I think I'm a dad. I have 2 kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old. So it's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, or get caught up in trying to network with people, trying to work, trying to do whatever. But my kid just wants me to throw him, and just wants me to take him to the park and let him go swing and go on the slide and stuff. So I think that's another thing. And everyone, yeah.
I think we'll let you go with 2. Yeah, we'll let you go with 2, and you can come back. You can email me your 3rd one later, I guess.
Appreciate it.
It'll pop up in your head. And Ben, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you? To either just chat with you like we are, or maybe get some of this advice?
So Vernon Dog Training is my social media, and vernondogtraining.com is my website. So if you have any questions, I try to post videos, try to post content frequently, answering questions, just bringing up different ideas of things that you can do with your dogs, different ways that you can, socialize your dogs, and what type of treats or dog food that I feed my dogs, or any dog related topics is there. And you can definitely shoot me a message and I'd be happy to answer.
Awesome, Ben. Ben, thanks again for hanging out with us tonight on a Thursday night, especially when you have 2 little ones at home that you'll be hanging out with, or unless they might be in bed already.
Yeah, they're in bed.
So that's why you're awake now. So you get some your awake time now, and then they'll wake up sooner. But enjoy everything you do. Like you said, take that time and be intentional with the time you have with them, especially when they're little, and love the people you're with. Keep doing the great things you're doing, brother.
Awesome. Will do.
Have a good night.
All right. Thanks. You too.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.